Chap, the third category or phase, stage of adolescence that you've identified is late adolescence, early adulthood. Tell us how you understand the distinctive attributes and what that means for how we may minister effectively to them.
This is something I've loved to spend a lot of time on, and yet a lot of people think, well, that's not really youth ministry, that's young adult ministry. I'm not sure we know what that means. But once somebody goes to college, all of a sudden they're thrust into this system that says, hey, you are now in college, you are, quote, an adult. A lot of parents will say, until you're 18, boy, when you're 18 and you're an adult, tattoo parlors love that, because that day they go and they, get Zelda across their chest. And boys also get tattoos, so it's a serious thing. But when they're 18, they're still a mid-adolescent. They're still trying to figure it out. Their friends are their clusters, their networks of mutual self-protection. They really don't necessarily, they have very many people they can be completely honest with, even themselves. So somewhere for most young people, around 19 to 20-ish, they shift out of that egocentrism, the various selves come together, and they do develop a core self, an inner person that they draw from. And that person is beginning to be prepared to insert themselves in adulthood. See, the point and the definition of adolescence is you are responsible to insert yourself into adulthood. Adulthood is not going to grab you and pull you in. We can help, and that's what we were talking about in these videos and in all of our training. So therefore, what I would call late adolescent, and the literature did until Jeffrey Arnett, bless his heart, changed the name to emerging adult. And he says in his first book, Adolescence and Emerging Adulthood, I didn't want to insult college students, so I didn't call them adolescents. And I go, that's great for college students, but we didn't have the same definition of terms, so we don't know what we're dealing with. But actually, there's now a whole society, an academic society, of emerging adulthood, that it's a fourth stage of life, people are saying. I'm wrestling with that still personally. But for those of us doing ministry and thinking through what does it mean to do college ministry, young adult ministry, to deal with the uniqueness of the 18 to 22-year-old who's actually in school, especially four-year school, the uniqueness of just post-college, either graduate school or work, and then the uniqueness of beginning to insert oneself into a career, marriage, etc., up to 30-ish. And here's kind of the way that I've best described it. For those of you that are out there thinking, I got to serve this population. I've got interns. I got interns at work. I've got a child who's 24, now I'm going to move back home. What do I do? I've got other leaders I'm 40, and I got leaders who are 23. What do I do with them? How you deal with a late adolescent emerging adult is you treat them like a peer. You treat them like an equal. You let a 19-year-old know that you believe in who they are and what they bring to the table. But you don't lead them like a peer. You lead them like an adolescent. You don't expect them to have it wired, whatever the it is. You don't expect them to be overtly consistent. You don't expect them to be right on the nose, kind of going after their career and their life. A lot of floating. And as long as you know they're floating, but you treat them like a peer, then the conversations are, how can I help you? I've noticed this. Is that really what's going on? Do you need to talk about something? How can I get other people around you to equip you to do? In other words, really intentionalize our relationship with these emerging adults and let them be an adult, but make sure we still lead them.